Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Korra fan commentary track video. This one's going to be for K111, Skeletons in the Closet. Continue to suggest other episodes of Avatar and Korra for me to do in this series, but to sync up your copy of the episode with this commentary track, have the episode ready to start at the start of the episode, including the introduction, whether that be your DVD, Blu-ray, Netflix, online stream, whatever. Have it ready to go at the start. I'm going to be wrapping up this introduction to the video in just a little bit. There will then be a 10-second pause with no audio, just pure silence. And then when I start speaking again after that pause, that's when I'm going to hit play. It's when you should hit play, and we should be synced up after that. So, bringing the introduction of the video to a close, going into the pause, after the 10-second pause and you hear me speak again, hit play and we should be synced up. Okay, so here we are with K111, Skeletons in the Closet. I have this rated at my number 5 slot on my Korra episode list, so very, very high up there, but I do think this is one of the best episodes in the series. Primarily, it is because of the flashback. Now, the flashback is only the last third of the episode, basically, but it is one of the best, 7-minute sequences in all of the show, in my mind. It's such an important backstory, but also well done. The emotion character it gets across, I don't think can be undervalued. But it's not like the rest of the episode. The other 2/3 of the episode are just kind of hanging around. This is the, first part of the finale, basically. We get the whole Battle of Yue Bay, the arrival of Iroh. There's some action stuff in this episode and some nice character stuff before the backstory comes out. But Hiroshi's speech here, you really get a sense for just how intense the hatred of Benders is for the Equalists. Everyone is finally equal, and their view of what equality actually is, of course. And they have a big following. The non-Benders feel like they want more representation, of course. Which is why the main change, I suppose, that happens going into book 2 is basically just that they changed the way the kind of government is run. There's now a president that is elected by the people, and the people elected a non-Bender president who, I suppose, just that changed a lot in the city in general. But yeah, I like, Korra understanding she needs to be patient here, but not wanting to. She's had her time when she's jumped out ahead of things, but now she is kind of thinking that this is maybe now the time to actually do something here. Gamu, of course, fantastic minor character. I like the history here of as we're introducing the United Forces. Here is a guy who is formerly part of the United Forces as a kind of communications kind of officer. And yeah, they have Benders and non-Benders living together down here. No issues. Just that it is possible that, it kind of highlights that, is there a major Bender-non-Bender conflict within Republic City? There is one, but it's not as big as you think. That a few changes need to be made and things will be better, but that it is not this nothing can ever be fixed type situation. At least that's my understanding of it. But yeah, the other part of this episode is, of course, the kind of love triangle going on here. Mako and Korra, Mako and Asami, and we get the Mako and Asami breakup, as well as this important scene here that really helps you get behind the Mako and Korra relationship. And it's scenes like this where they're just so kind of open with each other, highlighting that they get on really well, that they can help each other. That some of the stuff that's said here, it feels like, how can you write the characters to say that and then do what you did in book 2 with their relationship? I know where we are now, 2020, so far removed from all the breakups and stuff like that. It's yeah, it doesn't matter because Korra and Asami are together now. But it is weird that for, a whole season they built up to Mako and Korra. and then just tore it apart like it was nothing in the next season. It's very weird. Like, they were all over the place with the romance at parts. And I think it is one of the major flaws of the show, just that it took them so long to get the romance right. But yeah, Amon taking bending away from task force members and so on. And it's not just a few people, it's basically everyone. It's at this point they are rounding up as many people as they can who are benders, and are just mass taking bending away. But yeah, the main problem I think with the romance is just that it was very drama focused, whereas that really wasn't the case with the romance in Avatar: The Last Airbender. It felt like they took some of the sort of shipping war type stuff, Zutara, Zutara, Taka, all these kind of ships that happened at the end, and decided, oh, what if we actually make that a part of the show and make some of the fan discussion be about relationships, but that are actually present within the show. And it just didn't work because it was too focused on drama and not enough on the characters. But here is Iroh, of course. What's interesting about this episode is that this was the first episode title we ever heard about for Korra. Back before the show even aired, Dante Basco actually kind of leaked, basically by mistake, the name of this episode. I think he might have said something about like the script or something like that, and mentioned that this was the name of the episode that he was working on. So we knew, like, towards the end of the season there was going to be an episode called Skeletons in the Closet, that it would involve a character played by Dante Basco. So that was a cool, like, early piece of information we sort of had. And then amazing that the episode that we first heard about really in the end delivered amazingly well as one of the more memorable episodes from the book. But yeah, really cool to see, how a battleship operates in the Avatar world, because you have benders, of course. Yeah, water benders can detonate sort of water-based projectiles and stuff like that, mines and so on. You have fire benders and earth benders to sort of use their abilities to fire things from the deck, and they have sort of cannons that amplify fire bending and so on the sides. But they're completely out in the open against high-speed biplanes. That they're used to air power being like airships, balloons and stuff like that, but nothing like this. The high-speed nature of this is just completely something they're not aware of. And yeah, it's crazy. Like, this is the Battle of Yue Bay here. And it's just the United Forces are completely taken out here, highlighting the dominance that the Equalists had, because they have the technology advantage and the tactics advantage, pretty much. And in a way, the advantage because, like, Hiroshi's, like, backing the whole organization. And yeah, and I like that moment of, like, Korra's going to enter the battle, but they do show you just that she doesn't immediately change the battle just on her own. Like, it's a huge battle with warships and biplanes. She has to make decisions on, like, when does she pop up to strike? What does she strike first? Does she attack? Does she defend? That without the Avatar state, there is only so much she can do on a battlefield like this, basically. Which is one of those things in terms of, like, Avatar as it goes forward. In a way, as technology advantage so far, the Avatar suddenly becomes less and less of an important factor in sort of these big battles, whereas an Avatar in the Avatar state in ATLA and before eras would turn the tide of any battle, pretty much. Which is why I think a lot of people would prefer they go back in time rather than forward in time, in terms of a new era of Avatar. But yeah, very cool stuff. The water spout, taking down the biplane with the ice sort of blade there, redirecting a torpedo. There's some nice moves here. But there is only so much one bender can do on such a big battlefield of machines. And yeah, Iroh really cool here. Just like big powerful blows from the top of the warship. I love this firebending sequence coming up here. It's just like rapid fire, really cool. And he takes two of the ships out. And then, very cool moment here. Point blank, slow motion punch. very much reminds you of how Zuko defended himself against the pirates' attempt to blow him up back in book 1 of ATLA. Iroh doing something quite similar there in terms of firebending, shielding himself from a big explosion without taking too much damage. And yeah, Iroh and Korra meet. And just immediately sort of gaining his respect because she saved him straight away. Korra healing there again. Again, it's glowing because of the chi kind of going on. How healing works, of course. Always like that kind of look. And here's the plan. Second wave of reinforcements. And this is the importance of Gamu here. This was his previous role as the sort of communications guy using the old technology, but they're going to use that now to help things. Boomy, the mention of Boomy, so like cool, we want to see him of course. He's in the United Forces? That's cool. Red Sands Island, that's a pretty cool mention. There's a pro-bending team called the Red Sands Rabaroos. They are the all-female team, of course. And, you know, just a cool mention of just like pro-bending team from there, but there's also a mention of it here. So Iroh's plan is to take out the airships from where they launch. Makes sense. And yeah, the setup for, yeah, this is going to bring Asami into conflict with Hiroshi, which is what we've been waiting for since episode 7. But Korra makes her big decision here. Now is the time to actually and truly properly face Amon. This is not her going in sort of gung-ho just to prove that she can do it. Now is the time to confront him. It's not something that immediately sparks all this fear in her like it was before. It might work this time. And Mako makes his decision here. And even more so than the conversation he has with Asami, I think it's his decision there to go with Korra rather than go with everyone else. That is the decision of, you know, basically the breakup and what the relationship is for him. Yeah, the brother is just like, yeah, bros. And here we go. You know, we'll get to Asami and Mako in just a second, but I like Korra and Bolin's relationship. They're very nice together, and yeah, you go with Naga. And here we go. Like, look, is it the clearest breakup in the world? No, but at the same time, what are you meant to take from them saying what they say in this scene, other than the fact that it is a breakup of sorts? Like, there's no need for, like, in this moment, right before the battle, for them to be overly dramatic at each other. So it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm sorry it went like this, but this is how it is now. And there's an understanding, I think, on both sides that, like, even before they have that conversation, that they pretty much knew that they had sort of drifted apart in terms of being a couple. Which is why it makes in book 2 all the more baffling why they decide to in any way have to get back together. It's just, that's far and away one of the worst romance decisions on the show. But here we go. Amon has just kind of left to go somewhere, so now there's their chance to hide out up there. And when he comes back, they'll do a quick ambush. But here's the lieutenant. Wish we had learned a little bit more about him in terms of his backstory. Like, how did Amon meet Hiroshi? How did the lieutenant come on board as sort of like your three main people who represent the equalist cause? He's very serious about the whole thing. The rally. And so, Korra knows the secret ways around the air temple. And this brings them up to the sort of, the attic. The skeletons in the attic. It's probably a maybe slightly better title, but, you know, basic idea of, like, wait. And this comes back to the idea, it was kind of weird that when Amon defeated Tarlok, he specifically carried him off. He didn't have the others carry him off. He carried him off by himself. And there's immediately some big reveals coming up. Why is he the only one? Why are you special? Huh? Amon is Tarlok's brother? That means Amon is Yakon's son as well? And that means he's likely a waterbender? Huh? Going into the break, like, that's incredible reveal. And there we go straight away. He is a waterbender. He's from the Underwater tribe. He has the bloodbending as well. And he only found out basically just after the defeat because of the bloodbending grip. That explains how he walked through Tarlok's bloodbending. Other bloodbenders sort of have more of an effect on each other with that sort of thing. Plastic surgery. Some people have said this is a bit unrealistic, but because healing in the Avatar world is a thing, like waterbending healing, I suppose that would make it less sort of like obvious, like scars would heal very nicely and stuff like that. And what's so interesting about this is that Yakon does actually start again. It's a happy life. He gets together with this woman and they have these 2 kids, and it's all peaceful and nice, living this more, isolated life in the north. The kids are working out nicely. Just Tarlok is more kind of sensitive, and Noatok looks out for him. But bending, after the initial excitement of cool, we have these abilities, Yakon links onto that and is suddenly like, my dreams, my ambitions can become a reality. I can get revenge with these kids if I train them. And immediately it changes. They've probably never seen him shout at them like that before, but all of a sudden, just over waterbending training, he's like, discipline, like, why are you so bad at waterbending? And the pressure that's on Noatok being the talented one, and sort of the disrespect, I suppose, that Tarlok gets for not being as skilled, being a little bit more meek compared to, I suppose, Noatok. And here we go, bloodbending. This is where it's mentioned about it being outlawed by Katara. So it's public knowledge that she specifically put that rule in place. And their family has the most powerful version of the ability. And what about your bending? The Avatar stole it. And him saying that to Noatok, he basically says, you two are some of the most powerful benders in the world, but skips over basically the idea of the Avatar is so much more powerful. He took that bending away. He took the powerful bending of our family away from one of his members. That's more powerful than anything. And then this is where they get into the bloodbending stuff. They immediately re-establish the darkness of this ability from episodes like the Puppet Master and the Southern Raiders, of this is not really an ability that is nice to use. That you have to have the stomach to do it, because you are going to hurt whatever you use, manipulating their body like that against their will. And Noatok, just through the barrage, I suppose, the pressure, was able to live up to it and keep going, but Tarlok couldn't. And the core ability of the Yakon family is that they can bloodbend without the full moon. Tarlok can do that. That's why you consider him one of the top level benders. He just has to use his hands for it. Look at how effortless it is that right in the middle of the day he can just manipulate 6 wolves like that without really doing much, just slight breath there at the end. But Noatok, just with all the pressure, it changed him. And he's fine with it. The morals of bloodbending don't really mean much to him. And psychic bloodbending, I really view as just being that bending taken to its next level. That, for the most... This gets into sort of my view on bending, of just my view on the family is ultimately that you can almost take it as being... The family is just born as naturally more powerful waterbenders. So, an ability that usually requires the full moon for any other waterbender to perform bloodbending they can just do naturally, meaning that this family during the full moon is more powerful even beyond that. So just naturally, they are super powerful benders, even just in their normal water bending. Yeah. Yeah. And just the coldness comes in because all the pressure of Yakone was on him. And it more or less put the pressure on him enough that he became not exactly like Yakone, but they inadvertently both became more like their father than they wanted to. And this is the big moment here. Them having to bloodbend each other, and Tarlok just utterly unwilling to do it, but Noatak actually being willing to. But yeah, psychic bloodbending, very cool. It links into the idea of like Minghua clearly is a psychic waterbender with what she can do without actually having arms. Boomy and the fact that he can earthbend with just his like face basically is an example of like a master level bending move of just being able to bend while moving as little as possible basically. The avatar state, for example, is able to manipulate all four elements more or less at will without really properly controlling it as much. Like the sphere of elements move that all the avatars tend to do in the avatar state. They just hold that in place without really doing anything. And they do other moves while they have those ball of elements. That is, to a degree, psychic bending of the other elements. So Tarlok could have learned psychic bloodbending, but because Noatak was the more talented one, he learned it, but Tarlok didn't. And they say in just a minute that Tarlok, his training was never resumed after this incident. Because he was younger as well, he didn't finish the training. And just that idea of he always defended Tarlok and sort of respected that his brother wasn't the same as him, but now he's like, father was right about you. You are weak. That he develops this sort of the same approach in a way of like Yakone of like strength is important as he leaves. But yeah. And the fact that the mother's left out of so much of this, of just like they went on these trips for days at a time and never returned, of like it must have been bad for her even before Noatak left. And then for like one of her sons to not come home, really, really tragic. And for just like Yakone to basically just, die living this sad life. Tarlok eventually goes off to Republic City, and both brothers end up inadvertently doing exactly what their father wanted and becoming tools for revenge. Ghost still shaped me. Soldier of revenge. Just from different perspectives. Yeah. And that's what the backstory got across. This is why a bender, one of the most powerful benders in the world, would grow up to hate bending at its core, because it ruined his family. And the effect that it can have on some people of it just destroyed family. And there we go. That's the one mention of like how it works. That like he uses his blood bending to take bending away somehow. How do they beat him? Redirect with his mind. That is an important line. I think everyone forgets that Mako explains that part of like, how does a Mon, as a non-bender fighter for most of his fights, defeat very powerful benders? It's by using subtle applications of blood bending psychically to redirect their attacks away slightly, so that he looks like he's dodging them, but is actually, directing them and using bending as well. That's the like true power of like a Mon outside of just his blood bending grip, is that he can subtly manipulate bending attacks away to enhance his dodging. And it's so like undervalued in a way and not well known about, because it's only mentioned pretty much in that one scene that it is something he can do, but it's important. But yeah, this is the path to defeating a Mon. The Equalists have such a hatred for benders that even their leader being revealed to be a bender, as much as he did so much to make them as powerful as they are, it would destroy the organization. And that is why, like, the lieutenant, just upon hearing that it's true, does turn on Amon so much that he attacks him. And that's an example of just how deep the hatred goes for some non-benders that are supporting the movement, that the core issue maybe isn't as big as it's made out to be, and that ultimately a solution of, like, literally just, as we see what the change is, of people being allowed to vote for their leader, vote for who the president is, and then electing a non-bender president, changes a lot. The police cracking down on the triads a little bit more and a non-bender president solves the majority of the issues really that were present. And I suppose this whole incident with the Equalists allows people to realize that, in a way, just to stop this rising up again, we have to change things for the better for people. And the core of that probably is that it is primarily a bending council of the different nations and tribes and so on. But yeah, like it's a fantastic episode. The backstory is just brilliant in what it does, of explaining, Amon and Tarlok's backstory, as well as more on Yukon, of just that connection of that family to everything, all the way into that backstory from all those years ago, and how Aang taking Yukon's bending away stopped his reign of terror, but it also started basically the path that Yukon would go on, having Noatok and Tarlok, who would become a threat much later on in Republic City for Korra. And again, it's like Yukon is the underworld crime boss, sort of almost mafia style thing, standard sort of triad style stuff. Tarlok takes a different approach, but the same general idea of to sort of gain control and power within the city, but this time from a legal position, but by still doing sort of political manipulation behind the scenes ultimately. And then Amon takes the other approach of, like, he's still going to affect things in the city, but from a position of going anti-bender, and having a non-bender movement against the benders. And it's so interesting of just, like, they all have, the three members of the family have such a major impact on the city in their own way, despite them all seemingly about to turn out okay. Yukon turned it around, had the happy family, restarted, and it worked, but he ruined it because he focused on them as tools for revenge once they were benders. And similarly, both kids realized that they didn't want to go down that revenge path, but they ended up doing so anyway, with how warped and twisted over time Noatok became, and what he valued as being true power and true strength, and how his father's, I suppose, the way he treated both of them affected him as he grew up. And then even Tarlok, I suppose, being the weakest of the three, having to then, I suppose, in a way, just be there with his mom in the end. It was just on his own. It's so tragic. Like, it is such a sad story. And so Korra saying, like, that is one of the saddest stories I've ever heard, it's true. And it's so interesting that, like, Tarlok literally says, like, to them, bring this sad story to an end. That informs why he would take such drastic action in the end, because he basically views the family as being cursed in a way, that they are cursed because of their power and their ability to affect the world, to just relentlessly go through this cycle of, we can start again, but when they start again, something will pop up to make them think that they can do more than just kind of live a happy life, and it'll happen again. That's why Tarlok makes that decision to, while he still can, end both of them and end their impact on the world, because it's not going to change. Yukon was evidence of that, and basically Noatok, despite him being outed to the Equalists, he was probably going to start something again somewhere, wherever he landed, wherever the boat went. And that's what's so brutal, tragic, and shocking about that kind of murder-suicide scene there at the end, and just the loss of this family from the world basically because of it. But yeah, there's still other good stuff, like the Iroh being introduced properly here. You know, Korra making her plan, and it's sort of being the culmination of that arc that began all the way back in like episode 3 with her first encounter with Amon. Her being so gung-ho about it in the 4th episode, but her fear of Amon, you know, having such an impact there. But then the time away from him, gaining the confidence to strike back in like episode 6, and then her more logical decision to run away when she was captured by Tarlok. It makes sense that now she can truly realize that as the Avatar, I have to face him, and it has to be now. I thought that was actually well done in terms of just showing her growth across the season, that she's making a more informed choice here. This isn't just an emotional response like it was in episode 4. There's actually something to this here. But yeah, outside of, again, a little bit more focus than is probably needed on the drama of the relationships, because, you know, I think Mako and Korra are actually well written as a duo in this book. They just focus a little bit too much more on the drama than is needed, really. But yeah, great setup for the finale. But yeah, they're my thoughts on Skeletons in the Closet. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.